Well, if you guys know anything about me, you'll know I'm very particular and also very opinionated on products I use on my car. But one area I am ultra particular about is my tires. I am not one of those guys who love a glazed tire look or that tire kicker shine. I like a tire to look clean with a light pop of dressing on there, to have an OEM satin appearance on it with pretty much no shine. And that's why I'm a fan of water-based tire dressings. So in today's video, we're going to be pinning 4 of them head to head on my wife's Kia EV9 here, which we're going to be taking on a road trip. So we're going to get a first look at how these apply, the overall look of that, and then we can get some quick longevity testing as we're about to pile on the miles on this car, and at the end of the day, see which one of these you should be putting on your tires. Welcome back to the channel. Let's jump into it. Well, I'm sure a lot of you probably think about water-based dressings and you think, hey, they only last about a week. After I wash the car once, they're completely gone. Well, honestly, that really used to be the case, but nowadays there's a lot of additives into these products, including darkening effects on the tires, including UV protectants that really create this great hydrophobic barrier to get rid of that rainwater, get rid of the dirt, dust, and grime. And no, these don't last as long as solvent-based dressings, but I absolutely prefer them. Now, solvent-based dressings, number one pro to them, they definitely last longer than these, so you're not having to apply tire dressing as frequently. But for me, there's 3 main things that I don't love about solvent-based dressings. Number one is hard to dial in the shine for my liking. You might like a shinier tire. That's totally okay. If you like that, you like that. You don't have to listen to me and have my exact preferences. We can all detail cars and still have fun and have differing opinions on that. It's totally okay to have. So one of the issues with that solvent-based dressing is when you're applying it, there's no real way to, number one, either dilute it down. Naturally, they're a little bit more shiny. Now, the thing about those dressings is naturally they start out kind of shiny and then they work their way to a more satin finish as they kind of age. The other thing I don't really like about applying them is naturally they get a little bit more splotchy and blotchy, at least from the ones that I've tried, especially around tire lettering, which creates this kind of weird effect, like this ghosting effect around them, where most of the tire is more of a less shiny appearance, and then right around the letters gets really, really shiny. And the last thing, and this is a big deal for me, is every single time I have tested a solvent-based dressing, they attract more dust, dirt, and grime than a water-based one. I have shown videos on this here on this channel. That is everything I've tested, and I just don't love them. So what we're going to run through here today are 4 different tire dressings from CarPro, Koch-Chemie, Armour Detail Supply, and Clean by PM the Organizer's new version 2, which is actually water-based now. Now, we've got our Kia EV9. Like I said, we're heading out on a road trip. I just put some fresh tires on this thing. So we need to get these dressed, and then this will be a great way to test these very, very quickly by piling on the miles. I'm sure we're going to see some weather on this road trip. Then after I'm back, I'll give you an update on how they're looking. Today, initially, is going to be talking about the dilutions, how they go on and look right now, and comparing them head to head. Let's start off here with CarPro Perl. Perl has been a staple in my detailing arsenal, and honestly, looking back, probably the product I have used the longest and has been in my arsenal for the longest. I think I've probably been using this for 10 years at this point now. Every single tire dressing I try, I always come back to Perl, and I just absolutely love this stuff. Now, a couple awesome things about this. Number one, as the name suggests, very versatile product. Perl stands for plastic, engine bay, rubber, and leather. Now, how you do this is this product comes fully concentrated. It's also very affordable, but then you actually dilute this down for your intended use case in your specific gloss level. Now, this retails at $17.59 for a 500 milliliter bottle, $27.99 for a 1 liter. I will tell you guys, I go through a single 16-ounce bottle in a full-fledged professional detailing shop per year. A little goes a long way. Now, the funny thing, every single time I use this product, I get the detailers who are commenting and little keyboard warriors who have been detailing for 2 weeks, and they tell me I'm an idiot for using this at the dilution I use it as. Now, CarPro gives you suggestions of how to use this product. They actually say for tires, you use it full strength for a shiny tire. Use that 1-to-1 for a more satin look. The great thing about this product, you can use different dilution ratios to adjust that. I use this product at 1-to-3. It works amazing at 1-to-3, and I promise you it's okay to dilute this down for tires, even though their general rule of thumb is 1-to-1. It'll be okay, guys, I promise. Moving on now to Koch-Chemie Hydro Plast Care. Now, I'm sure a lot of you are wondering why I'm not using PSS, why I'm not using tire glaze. Both of those solvent-based formulas, both meant to, of course, be used on rubber as well. This is their water-based formula. Now, this product, very similar to CarPro Perl, comes fully concentrated. Then you dilute it down. This works on rubber. This works on plastics. You can use this in the interior, use this on engine bays, and you adjust your sheen level based on your dilution ratio. So this comes in at $29.99 for a 1 liter. Now, as they suggest here, 1:1 for high gloss, 1:2 for medium gloss, 1:3 for a satin finish, and 1:4 for a natural look. Now, I've been playing around with all the different dilutions on this. 1:3 seems to be the best for me here, so I'm going to use it the exact same dilution ratio as CarPro Perl. Moving over here to Armour Detail Supply's Tire Plus. This comes in at $16.99 for a 16-ounce bottle. Now, first off, absolutely huge shout out to the guys over at Armour Detail Supply. Bradley and DJ, just amazing dudes creating really impressive products almost across the board. I love all of their stuff. Funny enough, their other tire dressing, Ghost, I am not a fan of. Tire Plus, I much prefer. Now, this is an interesting formula in here. What they actually say on the website, this is definitely water-based, but it is water-based polymers in this, silicones and acrylics. And I think that's how they're getting a little bit longer durability on this than just most other tire dressings out there. So I'll be curious to see how this holds up between these. Now, the interesting thing about this product is this is a ready-to-use formula. So you actually adjust your sheen level by doing it in layers. So 1 layer, they say, is medium gloss, and then if you want it a little bit shinier, you do 2 layers. The thing on this product for me, what I found in playing around with it, is that 1 layer is still a little bit too dressed for me, and what I actually like to do is knock it down with a microfiber towel. This is not a product you actually want to dilute down, so that's how I've been using it, but we'll see how it compares to the others here. Lastly here, from a fellow content creator, Mr. Pan the Organizer's Clean Line. This is his version 2 tire dressing. Now, the interesting thing about this formula is it's actually water-based now versus version 1 that was solvent-based. How you actually tell this is version 2? Well, it actually says in the little period there, and up here has a little V2 label. Now, personally, like I said, I was one of those who I talked to Pan and was like, hey, you know, your tire dressing for a solvent-based one is nice. I just prefer, you know, water-based dressings. And he said, well, I've got some stuff coming. So I knew about this product before it came out. And now the funny thing is a lot of people are going, well, I still want the solvent-based dressing. So the thing you always see is you can never please anybody, but that's how you get to the point of these lines over here where you start to have more and more products. You look at Armour Detail Supply, they have Ghost, which is a longer-term tire dressing than Tire Plus. You look at Hydro Plast Care here from Koch-Chemie, they have their PSS, they have their tire glaze, longer lasting formulas. You come to CarPro, they've got Dark Side, which is more of that solvent-based long-term tire sealant, if you will, and then they kind of have their tire coating called Blackout. So pretty interesting there, but I'll be curious to check this out. Now, this is actually the most expensive in the bunch here. So $18.99 per bottle here. And again, very similar to Armour Detail Supply, you adjust the sheen of this by doing different layers. So 1 layer apparently dries out to a more satin finish. If you want more gloss, you add 2 layers to that. Now, interestingly enough, this is the only one you are not going to use with a sprayer here. So this is more of a gel type formula versus a sprayer formula over here. So next, we need to move into actually applying the tire dressings. Now, a couple of things that I've already done off camera here, but we'll talk through it. Anytime you are applying tire dressings, you want to make sure you have a very clean tire. So what I actually did is I went through with Armour Detail Supply's tire and rubber cleaner at 1 to 2 to strip off all the browning, kind of that oxidation that comes on your tires here, to get as much browning off as possible. Now, this doesn't get the tires perfect. It's not necessarily CarPro Retire over here, but after that, what I actually do is use Stoner's Tar and Sap Remover. And this is actually a solvent formula that is going to go in and bring everything out of the tire so that we have a fresh area on the tire put on our dressings. That's how you're going to get them to last very long. And you never want to just start stacking these layers of tire dressing. That's how you get that goop on your tires. So let's head over to the car. Let's start throwing these on and give you some impressions. All right, let's start with the staple here, CarPro Perl. These are my preferred applicators. They're just very inexpensive, cheap foam applicators from Adams, so you can cut those. I like to get a good saturation here on a fresh applicator block. Start to get it kind of worked in. and then we're gonna just start dressing the tire. Now, what I love about more of a runny based formula like this, you can see it gets in all of these grooves very, very easy. Now, this one is kind of a white formulation here, and it will dry, of course, completely clear. That won't stay in the actual tire. So I like to spend some time on this one and completely work it in. That's pretty much what I like to do for my first layer. Then, of course, always down at the bottom, your tire is dry there. So I'll roll the car forward and I'll hit that area, ensuring that I get everything. Coming into Armour Detail Supply now, you can see, first off, quite a bit thicker formula here. So more of a gel, but still sprayable. These tires are probably going to soak this up quite a bit because these have been sitting around for a while. I just did a big solvent cleanup on them, but this is spreading out very, very nice. Looks very, very even. I'll give you my impressions on all the sheen levels after we've let this sit, but I'm just trying to work it in to all the grooves here. All right, pans is up next here. So definitely more of a gel type formula, even more you can see than Armour Detail Supply. It's always hard to know with fresh new applicators how much to put on here and playing with these products. So we'll just start to get them worked in, apply more as needed. Hydro Plast Care mixed up right now, again, a 1 to 3. So this is going to be more like a liquid, just like the CarPro. Wow, it feels very slick. Oh, interesting scent here. Kind of smells like, I know it says it's vanilla, but it smells like a vanilla frosting. That smells like a very good, vanilla milkshake with like frosting on it. Pretty interesting. So one thing I can subjectively tell you I prefer here is more of these thin dressings. Now again, up here, you can see it really gets into those grooves easier. And the best thing about that is it just kind of works its way in. More of the gel type, thicker formulations don't get in here quite as much. That's why you see guys use like a brush on these to get it into those areas versus an applicator like this. This is just my preferred way to do it. Sure, on knobbier tires, I will do it, but I think that is looking pretty good. So let's let these set up for a little bit. Let's come back and let's look at them after they kind of dried. So first off, I have let the tires cure up for about 15 to 20 minutes. I have not rolled the car forward. I have not applied a second layer. This is the first layer. So we'll start back here with CarPro Perl. And guys, that is truly perfection. That is what I am looking for in a tire dressing. And like I said, when I actually use this typically is I'll roll the car forward, I'll hit the entirety of the tire again, getting that missed spot down there, and then I will let it cure for another 5 minutes, knock it down with a towel, and it will just come back directly to this. But in case you missed anything on that first initial layer or some areas of the tire soaked more of that sheen up, that's when you come back. But absolutely love CarPro Perl. It does such an incredible job getting into each and every one of those grooves there. Again, that's one of the benefits of this being a little bit more liquid than a little bit thicker. Coming up here to Armour Detail Supply Tire Plus, gotta say guys, that looks really, really sharp. Very, very nice application there. Now, I do want to point out, shitty Kumos here, that is not the tire dressing's fault. You can literally see how satin it is. This one area, I absolutely hate these tires, and this is why I wanted to do these on these, because normally before when I had these tires on, they really sucked with holding tire dressings. So that's why I wanted to play with them, something that's a little bit trickier to do. But really, really like Armour Detail Supply. I would say it did a good overall job at getting into the grooves. Again, I think the more liquid versions get into there a little bit better. But overall, very pleased with that. This has this kind of banana scent, very fresh scent. Armour Detail Supply always has very fun scents. I think they're absolutely crushing it in the game of scents, by the way. Their iron removing chemicals, amazing, absolutely amazing for what those are. So really, really pleased with this. Let's come over here to Pans V2. And I gotta be totally honest with you guys, I'm pretty disappointed in this. Now, of course, we still have shitty Kumho tires, but you can see this is a pretty glossy dressing in my impression. Now again, you guys can always knock this down with a towel. That is something I do very frequently, but looking at this versus the other two we've seen so far, not that blown away with it. To me, just a little bit too on the shiny side for myself. And again, it's challenging to get it just even here, but working that initial layer in, I knew these tires were gonna soak in a lot, but this for sure a lot shinier than the others. Now let's come back here to Koch-Chemie Hydro Plast Care, the vanilla scent. And I gotta say, guys, look at that freaking tire. That looks fantastic. Absolutely fantastic look on there. Honestly, really up there with CarPro. You see a real deep, rich darkening effect on that. I'm a big fan of HPC here, very, very big fan. And I've also played with this as well as more of a satin finish or the natural finish at a 1:4. The really interesting thing about tires you'll learn when you detail enough cars, almost every single tire takes up dressing differently, which is why I prefer to have dressings like this and CarPro. Once you get to know tires, you get to know what dilutions the tire dressings work best at. For example, Michelin's, I use 1:5 on across the board. Something like this may even be better at a 1:4, 1:5 for CarPro. It just kind of depends. So, you know, looking at this here looks really, really nice. I just quickly want to show you this as well up here. So this is actually our dress tire. This is that same dilution that we had on there. So this is Koch-Chemie Hydro Plast Care. I did this right before filming this. Look how perfect that tire looks. That is how a tire should look, guys. It just looks flippin' awesome. So I think from this quick initial test here, Pans, I'm a little disappointed with. Armour Detail Supply, I would probably put third place. I would almost put HPC and CarPro Perl neck and neck. I'm not sure I really have a necessary preference. I do really like the smell of the HPC, although it makes me kind of hungry and thirsty and kind of want to drink that stuff. Obviously, you shouldn't do that. But really like both of these, very similar in price point. I think CarPro is about $2 per liter difference. So that's pretty interesting. So last thing I'm going to do here, I'm going to roll the car forward. I'm going to hit just those lower areas. I'm not going to go over 2 layers on these. So just keep that in mind. I just want to do a single layer, but we'll make sure we'll hit that on everything and then we'll wrap this video up. All right, guys, quick final wrap up for you here. So I did move the car forward. I just hit that lower back section of where we missed that was sitting on the ground here. And again, one of the funny things here that I didn't really realize when starting this video, I essentially put these in favorite to least favorite over here. But again, Hydro Plast Care could go in first place for me. So again, want to reemphasize here, I really prefer very liquidy dressings like these. I feel like they work themselves well into the grooves, especially working on very knobby mud terrain, all-terrain tires. That is where I prefer these. You actually take a brush, spray them into there, they go on with ease, and they just work in very, very silky. A gel like this has never been my preference. It's just very hard to get in there. It's always hard to know how much to use. And again, both of these, you can still even go back over these and it's not gonna increase the gloss crazy amount because this is diluted down. Whereas this, the more and more you keep putting on it, it's just going to get shinier and shinier and shinier. So I think from looking at this, I really do like Armour Detail Supply's Tire Plus. It's just a little thick for me. I personally prefer these, but it still looks very, very nice. Pans to me is just a little too shiny. Now you could also say, Colton, you put too much on. Again, it's very challenging to get these very even with a tire that wants a lot of dressing there. But after waiting the allotted time we did there, Pans to me was just far too shiny. And that's something I don't really love. Now, of course, you can always go in and actually knock these down with a towel, get that down a little bit. But again, I still love over here how you can really dial these in, tweak it for very specific tire manufacturers, all of that stuff. That's why I really prefer these. So next you're gonna see on this, we are gonna give you an update. I'll film some clips on the road. If I see a huge difference between the tires, we'll probably see some dirt parking lots. We're gonna see rain. We've got many, many miles to put on this car. So it'll be interesting to see how these hold up. So I'm gonna head out on a road trip. You guys have a ton of videos while I'm gone. Not gonna skip a beat. You're not even gonna notice I'm gone. I've spent the last 2 days shooting like 6 or 7 videos for you guys. I'm beat, but it's time to hit the road. We'll see you in the next one soon. Bye-bye.